behold, a certain husbandman had 3 servants. And he sent them forth to care for his fields. And lo, the first servant did go forth into the field and digged about her portion of the trees, but without purpose or diligence. She neither watered the roots nor pruned the branches. And when harvest time came, behold, the trees bore little or no fruit. And lo, the second servant did also go forth into the field, and he was more diligent than the first. He gave them water, and did prune here and there, but not to any great purpose, for behold, he understood not. Because of this lack of attention, the harvest was scant and of imperfect texture. But lo, the third servant did go forth to labor in her portion with all her might and strength. She did study and learn about the needs of her trees that she might better nurture them. She took note of the evening temperatures, and while it was yet dark, did enter into the field to care for her trees. And lo, in due season, the fruit matured and came forth in rich abundance. The harvest was profuse and timely, the very soul of perfection. Which of these 3 servants did honor the trust placed in him by the husbandman? And which of them did receive his praise and much prized? Well done, thou good and faithful servant.
The answer to this modern parable could be found in a story of 3 lives, lives which have intertwined as far back as kindergarten and on through high school. But the story really begins at their graduation from university, that never-to-be-forgotten day, the time of commencement. These 3, standing on the threshold of adulthood, have much in common. They come from the same town, are living in the same state today, and have known each other since childhood. No, this is not a romantic story, at least not in the accepted sense of the word, for these will marry outside this tight little circle of 3, yet remain close friends down through the years. These same 3 friends, somewhat older now, are all teachers in Sunday school.
I'm really sold on these stake preparation meetings. We had a terrific group discussion in addition to our lesson material. Brother Larson talked about behavior patterns of teenagers.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, anyone can have my class. My teenagers are inattentive, impudent, and I've about had it. Half the class doesn't even come, and I just don't think it's worth the time and effort to try and teach the noisy ones that do come.
Sorry you feel that way, Kate. Maybe this just wasn't your day. We all have days like this.
It's not just today. It's every Sunday. I tell you, I've had it. Those kids don't want me, and quite frankly, I don't want them. Fact is, I'm ready to quit.
You know, when I first took over my class, I felt pretty discouraged too. But you remember that teacher training class we were in, Chris? It helped me to involve the students, and I soon had them taking a more active part. Since then, I've been able to hold their interest much better. I really think they enjoy the class now.
It's a good thing someone's getting results, because I'm sure not. How about you, Chris? How are you coming with your class?
Go ahead, Chris, tell us.
Well, I had my share of troubles at first, but now I just love that class of mine.
Really?
I believe one of my greatest joys is my Sunday school class. Each one of those youngsters seem almost as dear to me as my own family. I can't think of another church job I'd rather have. I honestly can't.
Here are three people with very similar backgrounds, basically the same education, and living in the same locality. What is the answer to the great difference in teaching satisfaction? It is recognized that personalities and home environments differ widely, and there is always the variance in native teaching ability. But after taking these into consideration, there must be other basic contributing factors. Perhaps a visit to their classes will provide a clue.
Dining hall, it took 3 bushels of potatoes and 1 boiler of whole corn for 1 meal. Thomas Robertson blew the horn to bring the people to meals and also to meetings. Our pioneer leaders stood for the welfare of the people as a whole, not individually. They wanted the people. Where are you going, Richard?
I have to go home.
We only have 10 more minutes. Sit down and listen.
Sorry, teacher.
Come on, Richard. Will you please sit down until this class is over?
I can't. It's too far back to my seat.
Well, maybe you better sit up here in front until the end of class.
Up here with the girls?
Me too!
Apparently, Kate hasn't caught the vision of her
Our pioneer
opportunity.
leaders stood for the welfare
Her
of the
class
people.
begins and ends simply as an assignment, and one can understand why the students are restless. Even though she makes a showing of digging about the trees, a little here and there, her concepts fail to go much beyond the process of just taking up time in class.
And when harvest time came, behold, the trees bore little or no fruit.
Phil has taken a teacher training course and has some native ability in the mechanics of teaching. He studies the manual to advantage and looks for ways and means of interesting his students in the lesson material.
How do we account for the similarities between the Bible and the Book of Mormon? Karen?
Well, I think the fact that Lehi came from Jerusalem and he brought with him the records which contain portions of the book of Isaiah must have influenced the latter-day Book of Mormon prophets.
That's right. Now, let's see how many evidences we can list in support of the divinity of the Bible and the Book of Mormon. Okay, Neil?
There's the ruins they discovered in South America.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Neil. You know, that's where I served on my mission. Should we call that archaeological discoveries? All right, someone else? Betty?
For the Bible, I've heard that the story of the flood is part of the legends of many lands. And then there are the Dead Sea Scrolls, too.
The story of the flood, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Tony?
Well, I don't see how anyone with Joseph Smith's education could write anything like the Book of Mormon.
I'll go you one step further, Tony. I don't think any man, regardless of education, could write a book like that. Now, what do these evidences mean to us? In other
If
words,
every Sunday school class were as well taught as this one, we could congratulate ourselves as a church,
These help us to live better
for
lives.
this class is pupil-centered. Yet, when the class is over, Phil's obligation ends, or so he thinks. He makes few, if any, constructive plans for follow-up or feedback from his students to see if the principles taught will carry over into their lives.
Because of this lack of attention, the harvest was scant and of imperfect texture.
Good as Phil's class is, however, there is an even higher level of inspired teaching, one which will motivate action. A look at Chris Sorensen's class may give us an insight into what it is that brings her such joy and happiness.
Now, do you all have your manuals?
I forgot mine, Sister Sorensen.
Here, Janet, take this one.
Thank you.
Now, I hope you're not putting these manuals away in the drawer and forgetting about them. They are designed to help each one of us with our problems. By the time the year's over, I hope this material will not only be thoroughly familiar to us, but will be part of our lives. What did you discover from our lesson on prayer? Yes, Sue?
I found I've been giving more thought to my prayers. I've been trying to get out of the rut. At least I'm doing more thinking now.
Thank you, Sue. Is there anyone else who benefited from our lesson on prayer? Bob?
Well, I guess I hadn't been praying too much, only when I especially wanted something. But now, I feel if I don't pray every morning and night, and really mean it, things just won't go right.
Thank you, Bob. I hope that we'll always remember our prayers, because this is one way that we can keep in tune with our Heavenly Father.
Bye, kids. See you tomorrow. Hi, Mom. Hi, dear.
Oops. Aren't you getting a little big to rush me from the 10-yard line?
But this is the first time I've seen you today.
Well, Fidget, what did you learn in Sunday school this morning?
Oh, lots. And the girls beat the boys again. Hey, and that reminds me.
Oh, no, you don't. Not till after dinner. Those questions Sister Sorensen sends home every week have been getting harder and harder.
Oh, come on, Daddy. This one's easy. How many books are there in the Bible?
And you say that's easy? Well, I'll have you know, young lady, I learned the books of the Bible in a song once. Me, 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 me. Genesis and Exodus, Leviticus and Numbers, Deuteronomy, la, 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 la. Joshua, Judges, Ruth, da, 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 da. Samuel, da, 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 da.
Shame on you, Daddy. And you, one of the presidents of the 70s.
Well, it's been a long time. Anyhow, how many books are there?
Well, what do you know?
I don't know where you got that road sign, Janet, but it's just what I had in mind. Let's hit the road. Dinner's ready.
Good, I'm famished.
That's John chapter 17, verse 3. Yay! Good. One more point for the girls. Now, where was the Savior between his death and resurrection? Okay, Charles?
Jesus was in the tomb during...
Is that your answer?
Now let me finish. Now, as I was saying, Jesus was in his tomb during the 3 days. At least his body was. But his spirit was in paradise.
That's exactly the right answer, Charles. Thank you, Dorothy. Well, it looks like the boys win. In all this competition against one another to come up with the right answers, I hope we're not losing sight of why we're doing it. What's the real reason for all this? Is it just for the sake of proving that the girls are smarter than the boys? Or vice versa, like today? What do you think, Jerry?
Well, I think it's so we'll remember the lessons better and try to put them into practice.
That's right. Now, Jerry, during the past week, have you had any experience you'd like to tell us about? Something that's been the direct result of one of our recent lessons?
No, I'm sorry. I can't think of anything special that's happened to me.
All right. Betty, do you have something?
I think so, Sister Sorensen. At least I hope so. You remember when you gave us the story of Peter's vision and where he was commanded to eat animals which the Jews considered unclean? This vision taught him that the gospel was for everyone and that he should look beneath the surface to find out what was in the hearts of men. As I thought about this, I figured that I should look deeper into the hearts of those around me to find their real feelings. Rather than ignore a girl that didn't belong to my crowd, I would try and be a friend to her and help her. It's been just wonderful. Already I've made a couple of new friends. Because of this, I think I know how Peter must have felt.
Betty, I'm proud of you. I can't tell you how happy I am to know that you've given that lesson so much thought and have applied it in your own life and actions. Now, the subject of our lesson for today is to be found in the answer to this question.
In a great many ways, Sister Sorensen structures the lessons so that her students apply them to real-life situations, involving them in service to others, automatically bringing rewards of sweet satisfaction, such as being extra helpful at home, diligent at school, kind and considerate to others, and making a real effort to curb impulses of anger when they arise. Sister Sorensen's door is always open to her students, and she has phone calls throughout the week asking for advice. She is interested in the entire family of each of her students, and her understanding of each student and his background adds meaning to her counseling. She encourages individual application of lessons taught in class and organizes group activities where these might prove most helpful. One of these came about through an incident of great consequence in the lives of the Baxter family.
Oh, I wonder what's keeping Daddy. It's way past his usual time.
Gee, I didn't know it was that late. No wonder I'm starved. Can't we eat now and keep Daddy's dinner hot for him?
Oh, I guess we could eat. I don't suppose he'll mind.
I bet you're hungry, too.
I can't understand what's keeping him. He always phones when he's going to be late. Oh, there he is now. I'll get it. Hello? What?
What's the matter, Mother?
Where is he now?
Mother, what's happened? Is it Daddy?
All right. We'll be right there. Yes. Thank you very much.
Mother, what's wrong?
Oh, Daddy's been in an accident. They're taking him to the hospital. We've got to go.
Why don't you go ahead and have some cookies? I suppose you're all wondering why I asked you over here tonight. Well, in this emergency, I thought it might be well for us to discuss what we as a class might do to help the Baxters. Do you have any suggestions? Yes, Ray?
I was just thinking, why can't we call all the class members and have a special day of fasting and prayer for Brother Baxter?
We'll do it. That's a fine suggestion, Ray. Now, the next few days are critical. Sister Baxter will spend most of her time at the hospital, and I imagine Janet will go there after school. There won't be much time for them to take care of things at home, and this is one place where we can help, isn't it?
Say, I'd be glad to take care of Janet's parakeets. I did once before when they were on vacation.
Good idea, Bill. I know it will be a big relief to Janet.
What are they going to have for meals?
I believe the Relief Society and neighbors will take care of that. But I thought I'd go over on Saturday and sort of clean house.
Could I help you, Sister Sorensen?
I'd like to help, too.
Oh, that would be just wonderful, girls. Well, it's all settled then. Let's see. We have Bill taking care of the parakeets.
And the goldfish.
Oh, are there goldfish, too? All right, Bill. Then we have Margaret and Phyllis. Now, we need someone to put the garbage cans out on Friday.
Rick and I can take care of that.
I'll volunteer for him. And we'll make sure they get back, too.
Thank you, Jim. We'll put you and Rick down for the garbage detail.
The few days of crisis ran into nearly 6 weeks before Janet's father was out of danger and permitted to return home. During this time, the class, under Sister Sorensen's direction, performed many tasks for the Baxters. They did it cheerfully and with the full support of their families, and in the doing, experienced a joy and satisfaction they had never felt before.
You all know, of course, that Daddy's home again and doing fine, and he just loved the flowers. It all seems like a horrible dream now, yet in some ways, so many thrilling things have happened to us that we can't look upon Daddy's accident as a total loss. The wonderful blessing he received at the hands of the priesthood, the fasting and prayers of all of you, are things we'll never forget. I know the Lord answered our prayers. I just want to try and thank you all for the help you've given us while we were away from home so much. You, Bill, for taking care of the parakeets. And my goldfish have never looked so fat and shiny. Well, just all of you. You'll never know how much help you really were. Daddy asked me to give you this, Sister Sorensen. He said that he's been trying to answer your questions for so long now that he thought it was his turn to ask you one.
This question concerns all of us. Which of the following scriptures have reference to a certain Sunday school class we know of? Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Wherefore, by their fruits ye shall know them. And then this: inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. There are just 4 more words at the bottom. God bless you all.
And lo, in due season, the fruit matured and came forth in rich abundance. The harvest was profuse and timely, the very soul of perfection. Which of these 3 servants did honor the trust placed in him by the husbandman? And which of them did receive his praise and much prized? Well done, thou good and faithful servant.